The Art of Being Ruled. Wyndham Lewis. Original publication 1926. 1989 edition. Narrated by Skeptical Waves. Part 4. Vulgarization and Political Decay. Chapter 1. The Competition of the Small Man. Giant trusts and cartels everywhere, at the present time, as they coalesce, approach the economic pattern of the socialist state. Whether the trust king is a highly salaried servant, as Lenin said he should be, if proved to be the most efficient organizer, or a capitalist magnate, when these chiefs become fewer and fewer, as they do every day, does not particularly matter. The enemy of unification today is everywhere the small man. The irrepressible village kulak is the typical Russian small man, in the West the small retailer and middleman. This small representative of the remnant of free barter and open competition in our society is the real obstacle to a radical reform of human conditions. It is he who is rightly the bourgeois of the revolutionary tract. The little shopkeeper has never been anybody's darling until today. In the past he always has been an object of contempt and usually of derision. The little, money-grubbing, mean, smooth, soft-living, over-practical product. Today he represents the old order. The big business celebrated in fiction by Zola in Au Bonheur des Dames crushing out of existence the small rival in its neighborhood, did not, in fact, do anything of the sort. Van der Velde's statistics point quite the other way. There are every day more, not less, small businesses. Their tenure is a precarious one, certainly. But they continue to spring up impassively. They live a harassed, uncomfortable life, but that does not seem to discourage them from irrepressibly springing up everywhere. As soon as one has gone bankrupt, two more take its place. It is difficult to regard the small grocer as a very sympathetic figure, nevertheless. He is human, it is true, where the salaried slave of the big business, or the bureaucrat, is a machine. Whether he is too human, or not quite human enough, is a dispute into which we need not enter. At all events, his humanity is of the sort that could be spared. But if that is true of him concretely, it is very much more the case when you consider the system that he represents. It is not even accurate to compare him with the master craftsman, or the small creative worker who is his own master, of the Middle Ages. He is toto coello different to that admirable figure. What the small tradesman really represents, where his own personal occupation is concerned, is a more recent principle than that, or in the spiritual context of our lives a much older one. He is the emblem of the small man, with his small, lawless, egotistic competition, throughout the ages. What he competes with is not his own kind, but a power superior to his own and an intelligence superior to his own. It is the upper crust of nature and chaos, as it were, organized. He is protected in his lawless war by that very civilization against which he struggles, and which he himself would have been powerless to invent. What is it that has always brought to nothing the work of the creative mind, and made history an interminable obstacle race for the mind which would otherwise be free? Precisely the competitive jealousy of this famous small man, with his famous independence, snobbish, ambitious, very grasping, considering himself better than the plain workman, making an unreal, small middle world, or no man's land, from which his vanity and uselessness can bite at and checkmate those above him, and exploit those beneath him. He is not only the enemy of a unification of the intelligent forces of the world, he is the symbol of what has always held back our race, held up all that challenged his self-sufficiency and small conservatism. It is his small superiority, egotistic independence, smugness, assertiveness, and uselessness, preying, above and below him, on anything that was creative, that has been the cause of human society losing, not gaining, by its efforts. His little touch of nature does not compensate for that record. We do not any longer want the competition of the small man. The human race, anxious to be free to create, has had enough of this precious small man and his small ways forever. His clamor for freedom is for his freedom, not ours, freedom to live on the creative work around him, to interfere with his betters with the power he gets from cheating his betters underneath, for he has betters underneath him, and betters above him. To be fair to him, this may not precisely be his situation today, very luckily for everyone concerned. But he and his freedom, and his small competitive instincts, symbolize an entire and very widely distributed human type, which, whatever else it does, or does not, do, the great unified machine will get rid of for us. It is rather as a unit of spiritual life, than as a unit of economic life, that I have been considering the small man. But the one is not independent of the other. In every phase of life, social, economic, or political, there is the small man, with his small, hard independence that nothing about him justifies, with his small competitive push, entrenched in the forms and conventions of polite life, calling himself civilization, and defying the elements on the one hand, and the human mind, that has created him for its sins, on the other.